Hi, I'm Michael Darby. I'm here speaking with you from EMC TV, and we're live from the IEEE EMC Symposium in Santa Clara, California, which is not a bad place to find yourself on a Wednesday morning. I'm here with Jay Moulton of RF Exposure. So Jay's a test lab specializing in SAR measurements. Morning, Jay.
Good morning.
So obviously, being Jay's speciality, we're here to talk today about SAR and SAR testing. What do you think the latest trends with SAR, Jay, and the latest things challenging the industry?
Well, I think some of the biggest challenges are, obviously here in the United States, the FCC is constantly changing their requirements on how they want testing done, what testing they want done, and they're pretty critical on all of the test methodologies that are used here in the U.S. They don't have a lot of leeway for engineering decision making to speak of. They pretty much dictate how everything's done, and it makes it a little difficult because a lot of the manufacturers don't understand why they have to do this test the way the FCC is saying it has to, and they feel like, well, that's not how my product works.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter, it's what the FCC feels how your products work. Yeah. And so that's one of the biggest challenges for here in the US. For Europe, there's changes. They're coming out with the new IEEE the IEC 62209-3. Yeah. It's in process. Who knows when it'll be out? Probably 2 to 5 years, because there's a lot of things going on. And I see one of the biggest changes in that standard is where they're starting to look at adding fast SAR to the process of doing the testing, which will significantly decrease the test time for doing SAR testing.
Yeah, and is that an important thing for the industry, would you say?
Oh, it's very important, because obviously instead of taking weeks to do a cell phone that may have 25 bands in it, weeks, it could be months to do some of these because there's so many bands that have to be tested. It could be reduced down to days rather than weeks. So it does significantly decrease the time. A typical SAR test right now will take anywhere from 15 to 45 minutes to run one configuration position.
Sure.
With the fast SAR, it can be done in 30 seconds.
Right. Yeah.
So you're going to save a lot of time and get a lot more testing done in a shorter period of time with that.
That's right. And at ACB, certification body, we see products that have so many bands, so many configurations, bandwidths, tunable antenna settings. The tests become huge. The concept of a simple GSM phone, you don't see too many of those these days. SAR, a big focus in the USA. As part of the certification part, I would say that SAR is perhaps the more critical part, more even so than RF, radio interference, spectrum sharing, things like that.
And I see that, and I think the biggest reason for that here in the U.S. is the consumer groups are now heavily involved in what's happening in SAR, so that they're ensuring that the government's not letting something get put on the market that is not safe for consumers to use. And so therefore they get into the, they're checking out every SAR report, and they're always contacting the FCC and saying, well, why did you allow this to go through? Why did you allow that to go through? And that's why the FCC's kind of stuck in the middle here. They got manufacturers that want to reduce and make the testing less and make the costs lower, and they got the consumer groups that want to make it tighter and harder and get more done. And so they're kind of riding that center line to see where they can keep both sides happy.
Yeah, cool. And how do you see the difference between the FCC and Industry Canada? Divergences there? I mean, we keep hearing that there'll be an RSS 102 issue 5 soon.
Yeah. Well, one of the biggest things that really the only big divergent that Industry Canada did with issue 5 was their power requirements for SAR. They reduced them significantly. So what used to be excluded from having to do SAR, now for Industry Canada may have to have testing. So what I've done is I've kind of implemented to where even though the FCC excludes it, I still do it if Industry Canada requires to do it for both, because it's easier to do it one time for both rather than one you do it and one you don't. You might as well supply it for both sides, and it makes it easier. And that helps with the co-location sometimes, because the ones that they're excluding are down low, Bluetooth. Sometimes you have to test Bluetooth now, but the number's so low, and so when you do the testing, then co-location is very easy to pass.
I think a lot of people perhaps don't realize that the power threshold for requiring a SAR test between the FCC and Industry Canada is not the same.
Nope, it is not. There's definite differences. As you get a little bit higher up in the frequency range, it does get a little closer, but there is differences. There's many differences that they have. But that's really, outside of that, Industry Canada does accept 62209, whereas the FCC does not. But they will also, Industry Canada will also accept all of the FCC KDBs for test methodologies. So either one.
Now, presently in Europe, for the RNTTE directive, if you deviate from the harmonized standards, you need a notified body opinion. Under the Radio Equipment Directive, which comes out next year, that will only be a mandatory requirement for the radio performance part. So you could deviate from the safety or EMC testing without a requirement to go to a notified body, and that would include SAR. Do you think that'll change anything, or do you think people still would want to just test to the harmonized standards and keep going?
I think most people try to test to the most people that I talk to, they all want to stick to the harmonized standard if they can.
I get the same.
The only time they won't is if there's absolutely no way that they can because of the way their product's used. But pretty much all of my clients anyways, they always want to do the harmonized standard and stick to the harmonized standard and just go down that road.
I guess it does mean that as 62209-3 evolves and becomes a more final draft version, people could use it without needing a notified body opinion.
And that's hopefully that's what comes out of that this next round.
Very good. Okay, everybody. Well, we will leave it now. Jay and I are off to the beach, of course. We've got our shorts on under the table here, and our pina coladas are on ice. So thank you very much, and take care.